If there's anything to make you abandon all hope and pour bleach into your poor little virgin eyeballs, it's coming across a filthy fan ship that should never have been created at all. And indeed, in my voyages across the internet, I've stumbled across many such treasure troves of degeneracy and pain. We're talking age gaps, and, not acceptable age gaps, but absurd ones. We're talking incest and non-con, and minors. Ugh. It's really enough to make you feel quite queasy. And it often makes you wonder how people get to the point that they're not only shipping this sort of stuff, but actively discussing it, making fan works for it, like fanfics and artworks, and not the harmless kind. We're talking fan works of the lewd persuasion. The ones that have you sitting there and thinking, oh wow, you know the ones I'm talking about. Because at some point throughout our lives, everybody has done a risky click onto a dodgy link or seen a weird comment or a weird post. It's just one of those things, an internet rite of passage, if you will. And some franchises, they're more intrinsically linked to this sort of thing than others are. And I guess it all comes down to the fan bases that are a part of things. Where there are lots of young men, for instance, the harem fan works will arrive to pair the main character with every woman in the history of the show or franchise they're part of. And that's just one example of many. It all simply comes down to the fandom and how it breaks down in terms of its demographics. And from what I've seen of Miraculous, for the most part, it is a lot more wholesome than I'd expect. Like, in a lot of fandoms, there is a big tendency to go against the grain and have some pretty popular alternate ships, some of which are pretty dubious in nature. Who could forget Game of Thrones fans getting intensely excited about the possibility of incest, whether that's aunt and nephew, or between cousins masquerading as siblings? Like, what? And then there's the various different ships that have taken root in the Disney fan base, the Fanon ships. I mean, Bruno and Mirabel, anybody? That ship is sailing. And I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but come on now. That's off. But yeah, like I said, for the most part, Miraculous is good about that, or Miraculous fans are good about that. Obviously, there are some rare pairs and all that sort of thing. And of course, there are a number of very popular pairings, such as Luca and Adrian, or Marinette and Alia, or Marinette and Kagami, or Marinette and Chloe, or really any Marinette /female character within the show. She is the main character, so she's going to get paired up with everybody. That's just normal. And when I say anybody, I mean anybody, but more on that later. For the most part, though, it's never really anything absurd, or at least nothing too absurd on the surface. Adrian and Marinette, the canon endgame pairing, it's far and away the most popular ship in the franchise. It takes up the majority of the fanworks I've seen. With a quick glance over on the archive showing there's like 30,000 fics to this pairing alone. Which, yeah, that's pretty considerable. Plus, there's a wealth of fan art and video compilations, the ones on YouTube. And then there's those music video type deals where they splice together clips to tell their own story. Typical fandom stuff. It's quite popular. And yeah, of course, then there's the porn. Copious amounts of porn. And much of it is featuring our heroes at the tender age of, 14. So yeah, that's apparently a thing. Anyway, let's just assume that the written porn, and let's not mince words, this stuff is indeed porn, is being written by teens within the age bracket. It's not my cup of tea, but it's not hurting anybody. The art, I don't much like it. What a terrible day to have eyes. Somebody pass the bleach. My God, what even is this shit? Like, obviously, I'm not going to show you, or at least show you the really intense stuff, but man, half the artwork I'm seeing just on the first page of Google Images when you search this stuff up, I won't lie, it's pretty fucked. Hate to be Mr. Puritan over here, but Jesus Christ, the aliens are going to see our planet and they're going to turn back around. But yeah, for the most part, the weirdness and the degeneracy is kept to a minimum here. Or at least, I thought it was. But regardless, there are still a few wacky pairings within this fandom that make me feel sad for the state of the world. Whilst most of the lewdness is with our main pairing, and is, well, it tries to be as unproblematic as you can be when you're dealing with porn regarding characters who are explicitly underage, but that being said, that does not mean there are no out there pairings in the fandom at large. Some are kind of weird, and others are downright despicable. And for some foolish reason, I followed this rabbit hole all the way down, from the popular to the deeply obscure, with the end goal of making you all share in my despair. Nothing like a good bit of trauma bonding to make us all feel a little bit closer. So let's take a look at the wild world of Miraculous Ladybug shipping. Well, at least the more obscure and taboo stuff, at the very least. Okay, so we'll get started. We'll go easy at first. A ship that, well, it's not canon, but it is extremely popular nonetheless. Tiki and Plag. Now, as you know from what the Kwamis have said in the show, they're little asexual beings that don't do romance or love, and yet, despite that, shippers gon' ship. And at first glance, it's actually kind of cute. They're both such little small beans, it's hard to take it all seriously. Just cutesy little romance. Or so I thought. Because then, I took a look at the archive. 700 fics. Okay. 700? Hopefully they're all wholesome romance, right? Wrong. Start reading those tags and whoo boy! And then you take a look at the art and double oh boy. That's some very smutty stuff. And many of them seem to inexplicably involve Adrian and Marinette in some way. I can't help but look at this and ask, but why? Serious question. When you watch the show, what about these tiny little characters gives you the urge to place them into erotic scenarios, if you indeed make this kind of stuff? Give me an honest answer. No salt about it, no anger. What is the legit reason? And that's just putting them alone, let alone chucking them into this weird orgy type of thing with their users. Oh, saying users in that sentence has a new connotation. And yeah, it's honestly very weird, and at times very vile. And by at times, I mean all the time. It's vile. This is a no from me. Like, this is Tiki. This is her. What is sexy about this character? Am I missing something here? In every version, every single version, in every dub, they have these cutesy little voices, and they have these tiny little bodies, and then here they are, in artworks online with rippling muscles and other engorged body parts. You get what I'm saying. But for me, this was only the tip of the iceberg of the weirdness. There's a lot more. And some of it, it's not as bad, but it is still kind of weird. Take, for instance, the unexpected rise of Marinette as the harem Chad King. So many fics that I could see, just linked from her character page on Archive, have her paired with literally everybody in the story. Her and Adrian, her and Alia, and Nino, and Chloe, and Lila, and this isn't separate stuff. This is all with her at the same time. Whew. Insert every single one of their friends into this and you'd get the picture. And I'm not exactly disturbed. I'm not morally grandstanding against this one. I'm not on my soapbox. After all, it's a pretty common trope for main characters to get their own harem in many different fics. Why would Marinette be any different? I mean, look at Harry Potter. Look at him. He bangs everyone.
Hey, she's only interested in you because she thinks you're the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one.
And so for once, I don't think I need to express my moral outrage. Besides, the disturbing underage fan art, but that already exists in greater numbers for the main ship anyway. I think the only thing that annoys me about this is that it makes no sense. I mean, do people actually think that Marinette could ever successfully forge her own harem? Poor kid can't even successfully woo Adrian, one dude, without devolving into a frothing mess. Imagine if that energy was directed at everybody in their friendship group. Whole folders on her computer, full of schedules for everybody. Nobody has ever had a conversation with her. She stutters through every single word. Her face perpetually red. Her room filled to the brim with presents for everybody for all occasions that she never actually gets around to handing out. Her parents in shambles. The credit card bill through the roof. What a nightmare scenario for her, honestly. I don't think she could want something less. Being in love with one dude is enough for her, because she can hardly handle that. Somebody write this fic. The realistic Marinette harem. And honestly, that almost concludes our journey into the wild and wacky world of miraculous ladybug shipping. Apart from the lewd art, it's actually been wholesome enough, I suppose. At least in comparison to a lot of other fandoms and franchises I know. I mean, I'm still disgusted by Bruno and Mirabelle. What the hell? At least here, there is minimal incest. But of course, no fandom is complete without a complete and utter degenerate crack ship that should never have ever seen the light of day. And for me, the worst one in Miraculous is Gabe and Marinette. Hui. I don't know what people were smoking when this filthy, degenerate trash was forged in the fires of hell, but I certainly know this. It belongs in the bin, in the garbage. Send it away. For starters, dude's like 40 plus, judging by his appearance. Look at that grey hair. Silver fox indeed. And she's a 14-year-old. So already, no. Once again, she's 14. She's always been 14 in the context of the show. Even if you age her up, she was 14 when you enjoyed this content. What the fuck are you thinking? On top of that, she's also one of his son's peer group, which makes the ship double gross. Because there is a difference between dating someone with an absurdly large age gap and dating someone with an absurdly large age gap who is also one of your son's personal friends. But then you hit the triple gross in that she is his son's love interest and always has been since the show began. And by this point in the story, she is his girlfriend. And so yeah, people really do be making porn about this. Over 100 fics. I've seen those weird YouTube videos crop up from time to time. The artwork, it's being made. Why? For the love of God, why? What is there about this ship that isn't foul in every respect? I mean, I guess if there was a time travel aspect, but even then, no. Oh, thankfully, it is a relatively rare pair, although 100 fics is 100 fics too many, but it's popular enough that it warranted a mention and a public shaming. It doesn't make any sense to me that people could sit there and think, oh yeah. This is high quality content. This is what the world needs more of. An old dude having sex with his son's minor girlfriend. Yep. I need to go lie down. And so with all that being said, we're going to call it here. And I would like to remind you that these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the wild world of miraculous shipping? Do you agree with my points? Maybe not. Maybe you think I'm being too judgmental. Believe it or not, people have said that to me when I have said incest is yuck and children having sex with adults is yuck. But I'm curious for your thoughts. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.